Hey, hey, what? Of course. How's it going, fam? How you doing, fam? What's going on, fam? Yeah, no, I said I would grow a beard until Dims did something right. Yeah, ZZ Top, ZZ Top. So PAYGO is an ultra conservative program that was created by conservatives that was pretty much abandoned by Democrats, even Reagan to an extent, sort of abandoned PAYGO, where you basically pay for projects and you pay for funding um, as you either A, have resources for it or have the budget for it, or B, if you cut from some other type of program. So, for example, we want to add $100 to the Medi-Cal system. Well, unless we have that $100 readily available, we would have to cut $100 from another program in order to fund that $100 toward the Medi-Cal program. PAYGO it's basically what it says. You pay as you go toward any sort of budget or finance options that you have in the state or at the federal government.
Right. So essentially, it makes something like Medicare for all pretty much impossible.
Oh yeah, I mean, not only impossible, but impractical. You know, because uh, they're basically saying that we would have to fund Medicare for all before we could even talk about passing it. Which we all know we spent $10 trillion on a war for oil. We're never going to be able to fund it up front or fund any projects up front.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a
But
cop out.
isn't there a provision in the bill itself or in the law itself that says if they do like a bill or something like an infrastructure bill or Medicare for all, they could forego with the PAYGO? So isn't it just really more symbolic?
Not really, because I mean, if you take a look at what Dems are famous for doing, anyways, they're famous for doing what their donors tell them to do. So they're only, if there is anything in the system, they only did it so oil companies or someone could get around doing their projects. They're not going to do it for the goodwill of the public. They're not going to forego any sort of provision so we can get Medicare for all. They're not going to forego a provision so we can have tuition-free college. They're going to forego a provision to let Texaco drill somewhere or let Chevron drill somewhere or do something that one of their donors let them do.
So why did Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats push for it?
Well, rumor I'm hearing is that that she's a progressive now, and this is supposed to be a progressive bill. So no, they put out some BS out there that said that the reason why they put it out there is because it condenses power or something like that, and it actually lets the Dems pick where they're going to be putting money and where they're going to be spending money. There was some sort of spin about it like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, when it comes down to it, I think the only reason why they did it is because they're anti-wall and they're anti anything having to do with the wall, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either. But what are you going to sacrifice in order to try and condense as much of the little power that you have right now between the three houses?
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
I mean,
or
realistically, if the Democrats, the establishment Democrats or the Blue Dogs or whatever they're called nowadays, if they were really progressive, shouldn't Nancy Pelosi take Medicare for all, pass it in the House, and then put it in front of the Senate's face and say, okay, now, really put them to a bluff or, just make them be known who's going to not support these bills. If they were progressive, shouldn't they do a move like that?
simple answer, Pasta, yes. More complicated answer. I remember when she was sitting down with the meltdown with Schumer and Trump, where Trump was basically saying that he wasn't going to pass any sort of budgets through the House because it wasn't going to get approved through the Senate. And Pelosi kept sitting there nagging him, well,
Yeah.
why don't you pass it through the House and set a precedent for what you want? And Trump kept saying, because I don't have the votes in the Senate, I'm not going to waste my time. Well, just pass it in the House and set a precedent.
Exactly.
But when you ask her why she doesn't do it, she says it's because she can't get the votes in the Senate.
Yeah.
So that's exactly why she's not passing it through the House, is because she doesn't have the votes in the Senate, and they know they're not going to get the votes in the Senate. So
Yeah.
So this is all just another spineless move by the Democrats. It just shows that they're pretty conservative right now, and with their with everything. And it's really sad that only 3 people said no on PAYGO. That was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ro Khanna, and Tulsi Gabbard, including all the incoming freshmen, including all the quote-unquote progressives that were coming in. Only those 3 stood their ground. And that just shows us, I think, that we need more of those people in the party, because three votes isn't going to get you anywhere. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not shocked that the 3 that voted against it were the 3.
Yeah.
To the incoming freshmen, I can't hold it against them yet. I mean, number one, not yet. And the reason why is because there's multiple factors involved. Number one, they didn't have they really, with the incoming freshmen, they still didn't have enough votes to block it yet. They needed, I think, 18 votes. And I think we only have about 9 progressives in Congress right now anyways. Yeah. So none of the incoming freshmen could have blocked it. So I can see them as, quote unquote, caving in. That way they can get some actual work done with some other bills. And number 2, we also do have to keep in mind, when we say they're freshmen, they are freshmen. None of these people were elected officials before. I mean, we have people that were former bartenders. We have people that worked at nonprofits. We have people that they never really had any jobs. They just got out of college, and they were community activists. They ran for Congress and got elected. Yeah. So there might be a little green to them when it comes to writing the bills, or could have been that they were manipulated. Maybe that spin that they tried passing to the public, they had these back office conversations with them, and they said, "Oh, no, this is going to be a good thing. It's going to be a good thing," and maybe they thought it was a good thing.
But to me, I mean, can't these people see? Can't they put their hand or their finger on the pulse? To me, it's all about Ro Khanna, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Tulsi Gabbard understanding what the populace and the mainstream media of people really want and standing for something. Isn't this really going to hurt these Democrats, these new freshman Democrats, who were put there, by the way, to go and stand up to the establishment, not to bow down to it? Can't they see that this is going to hurt their future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they do realize that. I think now they realize that it could hurt them. I think a lot of them are seeing that there were 3 that stood up for what was right, and the rest of them didn't. And but like I said, you brought up a good point, Pasa. You said, do they have their finger on the pulse? All 3 of those people that you mentioned, Tulsi Gabbard, Ocasio-Cortez, and Ro Khanna, all 3 of them meet with their community. All 3 of them, when we have a convention here in California, they show up to the convention, and those are the only elected officials that come talk to the Progressive Caucus. Yeah. They're the only ones that show up to progressive events. So yeah, of course they have their finger on the pulse. The rest of them, I'm not sure. I mean, they were really good at, being promoted by Our Revolution and being promoted by Justice Democrats. But at the end of the day, what do we really know about them? We don't know much about them because they're not out on the scene like the same way that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is.
Exactly. And that's like one of the reasons why I like pushing for a sort of community organizer or an activist coming into Congress, because those are the people that do have a pulse on what the working people need, on what's actually needed on the streets. And they're not just going to forget about it when they come into Congress and have a nice seat at the table. So that's essentially why I'm extremely pro supporting organizers who are going to have a very solid take on what needs to be done.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic point, Fiorella. If you don't have that contact person to get the message back to them, what are we even doing? We might as well have just elected the same people we elected before if the messages aren't being heard.
Yeah. I can think of an activist down in San Diego that's doing a lot of great work out there that has ran for office before, and I hope he runs again. And I think it's a great transition into the toilet talk or the scuttlebutt talk or whatever they call it, the back room talk, the in the bubble talk. James Elia, whatever you want to be called. Give us some good information. Who's going to win this California Democratic chair?
So, who's gonna win? Who knows? We have three declared candidates. Daraka Larimore Hall announced today. Kimberly Ellis announced about a week or 2 weeks ago, and Lenore Albert also announced. And for those of you who don't know Lenore, she is the craziest person in California. She had a whopping 7 votes the last time, and I think she won't pass that number this time. So, really, right now at this point, we have Daraka and we have Kimberly Ellis. If it was head to head, Daraka versus Kimberly Ellis, I'm definitely giving it to Kimberly Ellis. I think that Kimberly was very smart after the last election. She made a lot of really good relationships with legislators and lawmakers and stuff like that. And she realized that it's not all about just solidifying one base. You have to solidify all the bases. You have to talk to the legislators. You have to talk to the delegates. You have to talk to everybody. And then besides that, there's just an overwhelming amount of, I want to call it dark politics that's going on surrounding Daraka and his fan club.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I say this with a lot of caution because I do want to say every encounter that I've personally ever had with Daraka has been great. Daraka has always been very friendly to me. He's always been very eager to help. I mean, he was one of the only people that wanted to help on the campaign that was an officer for the California Democratic Party, and I give him credit for all of that. But there's just this dark aura that's given off about his followers. In my opinion, I think they're doing him a disservice. I think that with this crew that's been formed to support Daraka, I think they've actually hurt him a lot. Just with the way that they are, like I was making a joke. I said it's like Mean Girls. Yeah. Because you have people that, like I said, I had a high opinion of Daraka before, and I definitely would have really, really, really considered supporting him if this was 6 months ago. But over the last 6 months, there's been this very manipulative type of movement that's gone through the quote unquote progressive movement. And I've sort of sat back and I've observed it because I've been friends with everybody on every side. And at the end of the day, I just have to ask myself, what do I think is the most important thing? It's transparency. Mm-hmm. So if Daraka's having secret meetings with people and stuff like that and talking about what he's going to do and strategize people to run for e-board and stuff like that, hey, more power to him. But when it's happening and those people are then going out and attacking people and basically telling everyone you have to support this person or you have to support this policy or you have to do this, that's when it's not transparent anymore. So Kimberly Ellis, bet the house on it. And then, like I said, there's only 3 people announced right now. I'm sure Kevin De Leon's going to want a job.
I was waiting.
Yeah, KDL.
Delaney Easton at all? I heard that her name was floated around as well.
Here's the thing, Pasta. I love Delaney Easton. I love her to death. I would vote for her for just about any office that she would run for. But as a progressive who now has ran through a campaign himself, I also have to be practical. And there is no way in hell that they are ever going to elect Delaney Easton to run the party. Yeah. And the reason why is because Delaney Easton wants to get corporate money out of politics. If she came in and she won the election and she got corporate money out of politics, the state assembly would just turn right back around, bring AB 84 back, pass that, and not have to deal with the party at all anymore, and raise as much money as they can to go fund their campaigns. And they'll probably raise even more astronomical levels than what the party did before. So, right now we're in a position where we are basically the filter to launder money to them, but we have a seat at the table and we're able to actually talk to these people. I still think we need a chair who is going to be moderately progressive. And what that means is somebody who's willing to talk to legislators, willing to raise money, but having morals of where the money's coming from. I don't think we're at a point where we could say we're not going to take any PAC money or any corporate money from the California Democratic Party. I just don't think we're there yet. I want us to be there. That's what I pray for every night, but I don't think we're there. So we need someone who's going to come in and say, you know what? Okay, we can take from, progressive associations, solar companies, like be more picky choosy of where we're taking money from, but just straight up ban, tobacco, oil, and stuff like that. And Delane's like us, man. She wants to get in there and ban everything. So she's like, nope, no corporate money. So that's why she can't do it. I think if Dave Jones announced that he was going to run, he could win. He could win as well. I'd really like for KDL to announce that he's going to run, because it would just be easier for Kimberly to win, though.
That's a wonderful take on that. And I think she has a lot of the progressive support too. Just because of the fact that even though she did support Hillary, initially she did realize how Berners got screwed, and she made it known to everyone, and she stood by the Bernie people, and there's that kind of loyalty there that they feel like, hey, at least she understands what's going on, and she sees the corruption, and she's willing to change, and she's willing to adapt. And I think sometimes we progressives have an ability to make everything as if everybody's a perfect person on a pedestal, and if they make one mistake, we discount them. And I think that's ridiculous, because all these people, anybody in office or anybody running for office, are human beings. They've made mistakes, they've changed, they've adapted, and I think we need to be more open to that as well, in our movement at least.
Yeah, Fiorella, you're absolutely right, and I don't hold it against her personally for supporting Hillary. I mean, look, Kimberly is the founder, and she runs Emerge California, which, if anybody doesn't know what Emerge is the largest group / organization on the planet that helps get women elected to office. What kind of message would Kimberly be sending to her more than 500 graduates from her extensive program, which is very in-depth? I didn't realize how long it takes to graduate from Emerge. What kind of message would she be sending to all of her graduates and everybody who wants to get into her program if she didn't support the woman that was running in the race? That's kind of her deal, was support women in politics.
Right. It's
so I don't hold it against. Yeah, I don't hold it against her. And I think now that, since we've really got involved in the party, I think we can kind of look past that and realize, like, hey, the most important thing is progressive politics. It's great to support women, but I don't think you could just support any woman just because she's a woman. Exactly. So yeah, I don't hold it against her at all.
I feel the same way, and I think she is a great stepping stone kind of fam, and I talked about it. We don't want somebody, and I was going to ask you your opinions, because I think Kimberly Ellis would be the perfect stepping stone of moving left. Once again, she likes to talk to legislators. She was supportive of Hillary Clinton, but she was way more progressive than Bauman was, and I think she'd be a great stepping stone. I think, though, and I want your opinion about this, it's recording though, right? Yeah. It's recording. I'm going to repost this to record. But my question to you is, James, because we failed to get Kimberly in there, what is your honest opinion on the pulse of the Democratic Party? Because we had a lot of blue wave from people looking on the outside coming in. But we know people like Katie Hill, people like Harley Rowder, Mike Levin, they're really not true progressives. What is the state of the California Party right now, and how important is it for us to get Kimberly Ellis in as the chair?
I actually just messaged Kimberly about an hour ago, and I confirmed that I would be endorsing her, and that as a delegate I would be supporting her, and my 2 appointed delegates will both be endorsing, or will both be supporting her as well. And I actually told her, I said, besides president, this may be the most important race in the state of California. It's really time for us to turn a new leaf and have a new party. I think that the Democratic Party is in trouble. I think it's been in trouble for a long time, but I think it's salvageable. I think it's easy fixes. I think just in a few key positions, by switching to a progressive, or switching to somebody who at least is willing to work with progressives, or at least someone who's not pragmatic. I had many encounters with Eric Bauman. Every time the guy tried being a bully, and then he realized, like, oh shit, this guy's going to punch me in the face. And so
You
he
should've,
always,
man.
he always turned his tone around, because I always told him, I was like, dude, you better watch the way you talk to me. I see the way you talk to everybody else. Don't talk to me like that. And he would always like straighten up real quick. But it wasn't because he was personally trying to go after me. It's because that's his nature. His nature is he's a bully. Kimberly is the exact opposite. Kimberly, she came down to multiple events for me, and she came down multiple times to canvas and helped me out on the campaign. And she really didn't have to do that. And she did it. So she wants to see change. The current state of the Democratic Party, my man, I'll say it's not as California Democratic Party. It's not as bad as 2016, but it ain't no walk in the park either.
Yeah.
So it's still in shambles. It's always going to be until we start getting more progressives elected and start having more seats at the table.
Well, what progressive that got elected, or which new freshman congressman or assembly people or in California do you think has shown the brightest spot? I mean, let's talk something positive here. Like, I've been very down on what Katie Hill has done. I knew Mike Levin was going to be a disaster going in. I really was hoping maybe like a Harley Rauda would do something like an initiative to push for something homeless, to help with homeless. I'm saying I was hoping, I'm wishing for the best. Have we seen any bright spots with any of these incoming freshmen?
To be honest with you, I haven't noticed much. I will say that they're talking good game. I am definitely no Mike Levin fan. I can't stand Mike Levin. He blocked me on Facebook for the longest time, and he finally unblocked me because he got elected. I knew that Colonel Doug Applegate was the progressive in the race.
Yeah.
And I even knew Sarah Jacobs was a far better option than he was as well. And he still got in there, but he's talking big game right now. I mean, they're all talking. I mean, we need to see actions. If there's anything that we can look for, it might be something that would scratch your guys' heads. But I would say I'm kind of shocked with some of the stuff that Dianne Feinstein is doing. It's not that we elected progressives, but we were able to take some of the dinos, some of the most absolute neoliberal people, and we were able to pull them to the left a little bit more. And I think that's what was more impressive. Was the big group of people that were so establishment, like even Kevin De Leon, which he's no progressive. Like I'll say it nonstop. He's no progressive, but we pulled him really far to the left. And, he could be running for city council in Los Angeles. I heard he wants to gear up and run for mayor of Los Angeles. And I'll tell you right now, if he keeps with the progress he's doing and keeps working with the progressives, he could turn into a fantastic council member, fantastic mayor, and be a super progressive guy. So I can't say that there's something that we did right away or elected somebody that was gold in California. But we did pull people to the left, and we're setting people up to become great candidates for later on. Yeah. And we learned how to run campaigns. Like, oh my God, man, I will never lose another election again after doing what I did. So yeah.
Is there another election in the future, buddy? You said you're never going to lose another election. Fam and I want to know. We've been saying, what is James E. running for?
Oh, there's a ton of elections. At this, if I was old enough, I'd ask Bernie to make me vice president. But no, I'm just no. I mean, I will be running for office again. We've narrowed it down to a few different offices, and we're just outweighing our options. I never told a lot of people, but I was a newlywed when I got on the campaign, and my wife put up with a lot. Like I was never home, ever home. So imagine being married for a year and a half, and no joke, only seeing your husband 2 hours a week. That's all we had was 2 hours a week. I kind of owe it to her, and I owe it to my family and stuff like that to at least stick around the house until they get sick of me. And then when they've loaded up on everything they can handle, I can get back into the field. But absolutely, man, I'm gonna plug in wherever it makes sense. If there's an office and no one's running for it, I now got a good base of donors and they're not corporations, and I know how to do it, and I got the infrastructure, and we didn't buy programs, we built programs.
Yeah.
So like I've got a text app ready to go anytime I want. I've got an email app ready to go anytime I want, and it doesn't cost me anything to send out messaging. So so yeah, I was just right now focus on trying to get some important people elected and see what I can do to help Bernie and see what I can do to help Kimberly and see what I can do to help the important people that I think.
Help Bernie do what?
Well, he's going to be
Bernie
running
do
for
what?
he's going to be running for re-election in
You
the Senate
sure?
in 4 years. So
I said if he's not running, I'm voting for Jesse Ventura. That's it. Green Party.
Well, if he's not running, I'm voting for Richard Ojeda.
For who?
Richard, or he says Richard Ojeda.
There's a lot of stuff on him that's not good. I can tell you about that later, but he's just not.
Well,
I would vote for Jesse Ventura over Ojeda.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I love Jesse Ventura, but unless he runs as a Democrat Republican, he can't win.
Yeah,
he's going to run as a Green.
he's not gonna win though.
But how many states can Greens run in? Like 12?
48?
Really?
I don't know. I just made
No.
that up.
Oh,
I
okay.
lied
Yeah.
there, right there, just to try to keep
Yeah.
my argument good. But, you know, listen, it's all about the policies of Jesse Ventura because he's not a complete libertarian. He's, you know, responsible gun ownership. He's anti-war. He's even more anti-war than Bernie. Like, he wants to go and dismantle the CIA. He's really serious about that. He wants to end the war on